get into how to work out what training split is going to be best for you and how to know whether or not something is going to be effective, I just want to actually explain what a training split is. A training split is the routine of your weight training program from Monday all the way through to Sunday. It is basically the plan of attack that you are using to get the most from your training, improve your weak areas, and either focus on building muscle or dropping body fat. It is important that you know what your weekly gym routine is, and you need to know what muscle group that you are training on a day-to-day and a week-to-week basis, so you can not only plan ahead, but you can also maximise progress with your training. By planning ahead and following an effective training split allows your muscles to get adequate recovery, but it also allows you to still work them enough to grow or take shape without having any doubt as if to what you are doing is correct. If you don't have a plan of attack and you have no idea what you are training, when you walk into the gym you will become complacent. Chances are you will stuff around and you don't actually go there with any purpose, making it very easy to lose motivation. Once you lose motivation, most people would stop and give up, and they would say that the gym isn't for them, and I don't want that to happen to you. You need to plan ahead and you need to know what you are doing so that you can incorporate it effectively. In this video, I'm going to go over some effective training splits that you can incorporate into your own program for you to use, and I'm also going to tell you the pros and the cons of each split and what not to do when putting together your training split. As per most of my training videos, and you're probably sick of hearing me say this, but once again, there is no right or wrong when putting together a training split. Yes, there are things that you need to look out for and take into consideration, but there are several different ways that you can go about putting together a training split, and most of them are just good variations of each other and you can use to mix up your training. The training splits I'm going to be covering are training your muscles once per week, training each muscle twice per week, the push, pull and legs training split, and rotating training splits. All 4 training splits are correct, and I've used all 4 training splits before and they all work very well. As I said, there is no right or wrong, it just comes down to the individual's personal preference. I recommend that you try them all before you make your own decision to which training split is best for you. When you are training your muscles once per week, you are obviously hitting each major muscle group once and then having 6 full days recovery. 6 days is a long enough time for your muscles to recover, so the key to training your muscles once per week is that you full on need to destroy that muscle to the point of physical pain. You need to break that muscle down literally as much as you can. It is not a short workout. If you are training your muscles once per week, you need to hit the muscle from literally every single angle, and you need to use all your training variations that I have taught you, and you need to full on break the muscle fibers down of that particular muscle to an extent that you have probably never trained before. I have mentioned before that you are not actually growing during your workouts, you are growing at home when you are eating and sleeping to recover. So even though you might feel hitting your muscles once per week is not enough, you can see very good results doing this because you are getting maximum recovery, but the key is that you need to make your workouts super intense. Another benefit to training your muscles once per week is that when you are trying to drop body fat and you are incorporating good amounts of cardio, you are still allowing your body to recover. Due to the benefits of 6-day recovery in between hitting your muscles and doing excessive amounts of cardio, you will be minimising the chance of overtraining. You more than likely will never overtrain because it is very hard to do, but hitting your muscles 2 or 3 times per week, plus an hour's cardio each day, plus minimal to no carbohydrates, is very taxing on the body and you are going to get very sore. So if you are looking to drop body fat and you are doing a lot of cardio, letting your muscles have that chance to recover properly is not going to do any harm. The only negative I can think of hitting your muscles once per week is you might not maximise your progress. I personally prefer to hit my muscles twice per week. I find I can still recover very well, and because I am breaking them down more often and I am eating a heap of food and I'm getting lots of sleep and recovery, I tend to make much better progress hitting them on a more frequent basis, in this case twice per week. However, as I said earlier, there is no right or wrong. If you are training for a 16-week period, hitting your muscles once per week in the next 16-week block, you could change it to twice per week to mix it up, and vice versa. If you are hitting your muscles twice per week, in the next 16-week block, you could go to hitting them once per week. Both ways are correct and both ways will work very well, but everyone responds differently and everyone has their own personal preference. Hitting your muscles 3 times a week is a bit of a risk. I don't really recommend it because you have to literally be eating a heap of food to allow your body to recover. 3 times per week is almost every second day, and for me that is a little bit too often. If you are training as hard as you should be, training the muscle 3 times per week is not the best way to go about it. Before I go into training your muscles twice per week, I just want to show you what a split would look like if you were hitting your muscles once per week. On a Monday, I would hit arms. On a Tuesday, I would hit legs. On a Wednesday, I would hit shoulders. On a Thursday, I would hit back. And then on a Friday, I would hit chest. On Saturday, I would hit cardio and abs, and then Sunday would be my rest day. If you want to go back and write that down and try it for yourself, it will work. Now, when you do put your training split together, there are a few things that you need to take into consideration. I personally like to keep arms day away from chest and back day. When you are training back and you are using a lot of your biceps and your forearms as well. So having a few days of rest in between arms and back day is going to be good for recovery of your biceps and your forearms. When you train chest, you also use your shoulders a little and mainly your front delts and your triceps. So I also like to keep arms and chest a few days apart as well. In the bigger scheme of things like this don't really matter too much. I'm just being very picky. Everyone is different and I could go on all day about small inconsistencies in training splits. I've even heard people say, don't train your back and your legs near each other as your lower back gets very tight when you're training legs hard. Don't do cardio and legs near each other as the recovery won't be as good, and so on. I don't really take all this into consideration. For me, all I try and focus on is keeping arms away from chest and back day. The more you overcomplicate things, the harder it becomes and the more doubt you create in yourself, so you just need to keep it simple. Shoulders and chest together I believe is fine, because if your form is good when you are training chest, you won't be using too much of your front delts, and anyone who can't do back after legs or legs after back needs to harden up, because the two muscle groups should not interlock in a workout. So when putting together a training split, hitting your muscles once per week, all you need to do is focus on keeping arms away from back and chest day, but more importantly than that, make sure that you are training very hard and very intense. You are getting maximum recovery from training your muscles once per week, so you need to literally rip those muscles apart and use that extended recovery time to your advantage. If you were to move to a training split where you were hitting each muscle twice per week, it may look something like this. Monday, back and biceps. Tuesday, legs and shoulders. Wednesday, chest and triceps. Thursday, day off. Friday, back and biceps. Saturday, legs and shoulders. Sunday, chest and triceps. Once again, if you want, you can write that down. It will work very well. But that is just an example. There are 5 or 6 different ways that you can put this together, but this time we are incorporating back and biceps together and chest and triceps together, so that we are allowing maximum recovery for those muscles. Because we are hitting the muscles more frequent, if you were to train chest one day and triceps the next day, the recovery time for triceps would basically be every second day, and that is too often. Even if you are training the muscle indirectly, you will not be maximising progress because the muscle is being trained too frequently. The benefits of hitting your muscles twice per week is that you are breaking them down more frequently, which means they need to build back bigger and stronger on a more regular basis. This is obviously going to lead to more muscle growth if you are recovering properly. When you are training your muscles twice per week, you still need to train very hard to break them down. But more importantly, in this case, is the amount of food that you are eating. If your muscles are not getting the rest and the nutrition to recover, they will not grow. You have to make sure that you are eating and resting to recover when hitting your muscles twice per week, because if the recovery isn't there and your muscles are staying broken down, there will be no progress. So as you can see, there is benefits to training your muscles once per week, and there is benefits to training your muscles twice per week. Neither is better than the other. They are both correct, they both work, and I recommend that you try them both for yourself. The third training split I want to cover is called push, pull and legs training split. The push, pull, legs split is a weight training schedule that revolves around splitting the body up into 3 groups. Upper body pushing muscles, upper body pulling muscles, and legs. Each group is then trained separately on its own workout day. So on the push day, you would train all the upper body muscles that are involved in pushing exercises. A push exercise is any exercise where you are pushing the weight up, down, or away from your body. This includes chest, shoulders, and triceps. On the pull workout day, you would train all the upper body muscles that are involved in a pulling exercise. A pulling exercise is an exercise where you are either pulling the weight up, down, or towards your body. This primarily includes back, biceps, and a little bit of traps. On the legs workout day, you would train the entire lower body. This includes quads, hamstrings, and calves. I haven't really mentioned abs in these training splits, but doing abs twice per week for me is a given. Always hit your abs twice per week, regardless of what training split you are doing. So with the push-pull legs, you would do that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, then repeat and have Sunday off. So push Monday, pull Tuesday, legs Wednesday, and repeat. Again, if you would like, and I would recommend that you go back and listen again and write this down. This is all good stuff for you to learn. The main purpose and benefit of splitting the body up, or the muscle groups up this way, is that the related muscle groups are being trained together in the same workout. Similar to what training your muscles twice per week would look like, but once again, you are just grouping them a little different. Is one better than the other? No, definitely not. They are both good, they both work, and they are just two different training splits that you can use so your body doesn't get used to the same thing or so you don't get bored. They are all correct. The push-pull legs basically have the same pros and cons as hitting your muscles twice per week, but it has a little more structure. I have used both got me the same results, I enjoyed both as much as the other, and I recommend that you try them both as well. Now the reason that I say both work and both are good is because the main thing that I focus on in my workouts, and I've said this 100 times before, is my training intensity. You should never ever have a bad workout. You go in there, you destroy your muscles, you train like an animal, you eat and you sleep and you recover. It is very simple and you don't need to overcomplicate it. The same principle applies to all training splits, but the key to seeing results is always going to be the intensity in your workouts. Now the last training split I'm going to cover is called a rotating training split, and personally this has been my split of preference, not so much now, but basically from 18 to 22 when I was fully obsessed with my training and that was the only thing that mattered in my life. Don't get me wrong, I still love my training, but I am a lot more career and business driven now. I did a 5-day split for literally 3 or 4 years straight because I just loved it so much and it fitted perfectly into my life. When I was 18 years old, I was about 68 kilos, and when I was 22 years old, I was 84. So I put a heap of size on using this, and I really did think that my 5-day rotating split was the key to my success and seeing those results. Looking back at it now and knowing what I do, I would have made just as good a progress using either of these training splits. It was actually the food and my training intensity that was getting me the results and not the training splits. So what a rotating 5-day split is a split where you train each muscle group by itself consecutively with no scheduled rest days in between. The reason I used to have no scheduled rest days is because at this point in my life I was none the wiser and I just wanted to get massive and went to the gym as often as I could. So by not scheduling a rest day, when something does go wrong or you can't get to the gym, you just make that your rest day and you pick up from where you left off. You cannot do that when you have a Monday through to Sunday training split because it doesn't work. Just because you have no scheduled rest days does not mean you can make up a reason to not go to the gym. This is not a split where you can make excuses just for the sake of it. You need to get your workouts done. There must be a good reason for you to not be able to go to the gym, and laziness is not an excuse. So what the 5-day rotating split looked like for me was day 1, I would train arms. Day 2, I would train legs. Day 3, I would train back and abs. Day 4, I would train chest. And day 5, I would train shoulders and abs. I would then repeat this cycle. So after I'd completed day 5, I would start back on day 1 with no rest days in between. Whenever something came up or I wasn't able to make it to the gym, I would just throw in a rest day and continue on with my training whatever day I was up to in my training split. You are having 4 days rest in between muscle groups, which is more than enough time to recover, and you schedule rest days as you feel that you need them or as something comes up. Once again, this training split worked very well for me and I really enjoyed it, but for some people, they like to have it more of a structured routine and have everything properly scheduled. There is no right or wrong. All four training split work. They all have their pros and their cons, and they all basically are just different variations of each other to keep your training interesting. I mentioned this in my video, Training Variations, but I want to cover it again because I want you to cement this into your brain. You do not need to change your training split very often at all. It is just to stop your body from getting used to the same thing. I want you to try all four training splits, do them all properly for 16 weeks and see which one that you enjoy the most. If you fall in love with one training split and it is working amazing for you and you are enjoying it and it fits into your life perfectly and you don't want to change it, then you don't have to. Just like I did with my 5-day training split for years and years and years. I put on 26 kilo of muscle in 5 years using the exact same training split. You do not need to change your training split if you don't want to. The way that you stop your body from getting used to the same thing is by using different training variations. I want you to watch all of my 1-hour workout videos with voiceovers and you will understand properly. So even though my routine of how I trained my muscles was exactly the same, no actual 2 workouts were ever the same because the variations that I use would always change. Some days you go heavy, some days you go light. Some days you use drop sets, some days you use supersets, some days it's negatives, some days it's pause reps. It doesn't matter. Changing your training split does keep your training exciting. There is nothing wrong with changing your training split on a regular basis. But if you do like to do the same thing and you're a creature of routine or habit, just like I am, then the same training split consecutively will work just fine. Doing the same workouts consecutively will not. You must make sure that your workouts are as hard as possible every single session. You need to use multiple variations and different training techniques every session, but you do not need to change your training split. It comes down to each individual workout. Please don't forget that it is very important and valuable information that you can use. So again, I want you to try all 4 training splits, kill your workouts in all 4 training splits, and find what works best for you. If you want to keep doing the same thing, then that is fine too. If you want to mix your training split up all the time, that is also fine. Do it. The key to stopping your body from getting used to the same thing is by slowly progressing and making sure that each individual workout is harder than the last and constantly using different training variations, not by changing your training split.